ECSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all your sports books and track all your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You could also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as it's the best account on the platform. Head to App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire and download the app.
Excuse me, Mr. DJ.
Hey, check this out. We got a great show coming your way.
From the ECSI Sports Studios, it's the Midday Market Report with Jeff Dawson.
Good morning, sports fans from all around the globe. I am the host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and it's this time of the week, Friday, November 21st, 2025, for the Midday Market Report. Good friend and colleague, Mr. Nck Hathcoat, here to talk about the Irish eyes are still smiling in the NCAAF, as they are currently still holding on to their playoff chase and dream, trying to get back to that national championship game, which they were in last year. Of course, we'll get Nick's thoughts, what he saw last week, and of course, Nick's Nuggets, week 13 already. Kind of there's a handful of good games, but it's almost like the calm before the storm, where next weekend, Thanksgiving weekend, we get the big rivalry games there, the Texas A&M games, Auburn, Alabama, and a bunch of others, Georgia Tech, just to name a few. But first and foremost, a shout out to our proud sponsors and partnerships. It's WagerWire. Head on over to Google Play, download the app. It is free. Travis, Zach, Guy, myself, Amber, Holly, Carol, Bucks, Matt, Allen, Jacob, Drew, the list is endless. Come on board. Enjoy the rest of 2025. I promise you, 2026 will be epic. And of course, AtlantaSteaksAndSeafood.com. Terry Smith does wonders over there. Introduce yourself to Terry Smith over on Facebook. Come on back to AtlantaSteaksAndSeafood.com. Steak, seafood, chops, appetizers, wine. Terry's got it all. Let him fill your plates, your tables for the holiday season, whether it's a family gathering for Thanksgiving or if it's a Christmas party for friends, family, and colleagues. So Terry Smith, AtlantaSteaksAndSeafood.com. So without further ado, let's bring him in, Mr. Nck Hathcoat. What's up, Nick?
Morning, Jeff. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I am doing well. Ready for another weekend of college football. It's crazy that it's week 13 already. That's just, it doesn't seem real.
Well, it's 1 week closer to college baseball, and I'm going to start there because
been
we
working
had
on that this morning. Yeah, I've been working on some of that this morning.
We had Matt on yesterday talking SEC, of course, talking about his Razorbacks, but we closed with the Tennessee Vols baseball team taking another hit here, kid.
Yeah, there were rumors kind of circling around that Frank Anderson was going to follow Tony Vitello to the Giants, which kind of makes a lot of sense. But then some things happened. San Francisco Giants hired a pitching coach, I believe 3 or 4 days ago. Hired a pitching coach, so then it kind of seemed iffy on if Frank would still go. He did for kind of a smaller role. It seems like he's going to kind of be running the kind of like, I guess, the day-to-day operations between the pitchers. I'm not even sure. It's like a made-up position they made for him, but he's working with the Major League club only with San Francisco. Yeah, big blow to Tennessee because now they go to Josh Reynolds. They're just promoting from within, which this time of year they're kind of stuck. Like, no, I don't know of any pitching. You can't just go around the country and try to find the best pitching coach available and get him to leave in the end of November. So Josh Reynolds, who was basically just the he was basically the guy that did. I'm trying to think of how the analytical side of things for Tennessee pitchers. Like he worked with, did all of that stuff. So now he's moving up to an actual starting, head pitching coach role, which he has done before for 1 year. He was at Kansas State, then he was at Northwestern, and then he finished in Cincy, where he was in Cincy for 1 year as a pitching coach, and then Tony stole him because he was actually turned Cincy into a very good pitching squad out of nowhere, just to do the analytical side of things, and now he's being pushed to, here's a top 5 team in the SEC, and you got to be on your game. So yeah, I'm a little worried about that one more. I'm way more worried about this than I was losing Tony V, if that tells you anything.
We'll have some time, but again, we got 9 days left in November. We flip the schedule to December, and before you know it, we'll be talking, preview guide for 2026.
February 13th. It starts
there you
this
go.
year.
So, headliner Irish holding steady in NCAA playoff chase. We've talked at length here. Go back to the start of the year this year. A tough 3-point loss at Miami, and then a couple weeks later, a 1-point loss to the Aggies, who were still undefeated miraculously after being down 30-3 at halftime last week. Miami starting to now lean on people, and when it was just 4 teams, Nick, we talked about style points and just score, and score some more. Miami's starting to do that, and we've talked at length. I'd hate to come down to Notre Dame, Miami for that final spot. Hey, Miami beat Notre Dame. It's kind of where you lost. You've won 6 in a row, if I'm not mistaken. Starting to get a little tight here, or you still feeling win out and we're in?
No, I've been telling you for a month and a half now that I've been worried about Notre Dame, and you keep trying to convince me on here that Notre Dame's in. Notre Dame's in. There are definitely scenarios that can happen where Notre Dame's in trouble. Miami has been playing well. If it's up to me, let me just start by saying this. If it's up to me, I think Notre Dame and Miami should both be in. I still don't believe in BYU being up there. I still don't believe in Utah being up there. Unfortunately, we have to. I don't know why. We have to have a group of 5 team in this year when they all none of them have proved they're any good. Let's just be real. I saw this yesterday. Somebody put it on there where Arkansas, who is 2-8, going back to Arkansas, you mentioned with Matt Grissom, would be a 4.5 point favorite over James Madison on a neutral field tomorrow. And that team deserves a playoff spot. I don't see that. But unfortunately, that's just what they made. There's different ways that this can get screwed up for Notre Dame. The Big 12 championship game, Notre Dame needs Texas Tech to win. Texas Tech cannot get beaten that game, whether it's BYU or Utah. Because BYU wins and they avenge their only loss, then BYU's probably getting in. And I don't know if they kick Texas Tech out. There's also the weird stuff that's going on in the ACC. Georgia Tech the whole ACC just needs to get out of here. Georgia Tech should have got beat by Boston College. After already should have gotten beat by Wake. They should have got beat by they did get beat by NC State. And then Virginia, yeah, that was the best game I've seen them play. SMU still in it. Louisville just got beat by Clemson after getting so now Louisville's out. I don't know what to think of the ACC, but the fact that they're going to get a team in, probably whoever wins the ACC, which right now is either Georgia Tech, most likely, or Virginia. And I can't remember what Georgia Tech's ranked, 16th, 15th, 16th. So that's an automatic spot right there. So you're looking at basically an at-large team needs to be in the top 10. I don't love where Notre Dame's sitting right now at 9 because Bama has a fairly easy schedule left. Bama also has the ends to be in the SEC championship game. If they win that, they're jumping Notre Dame. Oklahoma doesn't have much left. I as a Notre Dame fan, I hope they get beat by Missouri this week. Don't see it happening, but that would be nice. So I think Notre Dame has reached the peak, I guess, of where they can be. I think 9 is probably the top, just because the people in front of them somebody's either going to pass them or unless more chaos happens. So yeah, There's different ways to look at it. I would love to feel much more comfortable. I'll say that for sure.
Well, again, sometimes, I mean, take a look at Ohio State last year, and
Hmm.
I wanted to dive into the SEC, but Ohio State gets upset. They don't even make their championship game yet. Then the light bulb went on, and they sheet, and they're the national champs. There is a scenario, they're 13 and a half point favorites next weekend, but there is a scenario where Michigan upsets them, wins the Big Ten championship, and Michigan's in. There goes an SEC team, or maybe a Notre Dame, or a Miami team. I'm going to say what happened to
So
Alabama
let me
now.
say this real quick: Michigan wouldn't get in over Notre Dame, even if they beat Ohio State, because that's literally their one win. Like, because you look at, because they'd also be 10-2 with whoever wins the, like,
But they'd have the
basically.
Big Ten. They'd have the Big Ten title.
Nah, you will smoke them.
I'm putting up a scenario there
Yeah,
because
I know, but still, they
we're
would be behind two-loss USC or two-loss Oregon. Whoever wins that game this weekend, and they're not going to let 4 Big Ten teams in.
but they would have beaten the defending champ.
Good for them. That's still their one. That's still their one win.
Okay, well, we can't flip flop here, though. Meaning, well, you beat Michigan, therefore you're in over the Big Ten champs, and the fact that you lost to Miami, and I'm
Yeah,
in on Notre Dame. I'm in on
yeah.
Notre Dame. So I'm
No,
not. I'm just trying to create some scenarios because I'm going to take it a step further. In the SEC here, Alabama's no lock next week. They're 5.5 point favorites at Auburn. That is the Auburn Super Bowl there.
yeah,
Auburn has picked off Alabama in that game before. So my point is Alabama then would have 3 losses. They just lost to Oklahoma, and now
yeah.
here
They'd be
they
out.
are.
Yeah,
Then they would be out there. So there's so many scenarios. A&M could lose to Texas next week. The way Georgia's is playing now, that's the new darling. This is not the same Georgia team that we've seen in the past. This is not the Lad McConkey, Brock Bowers. This isn't that defense that's just sacking you 24/7. I know Georgia Tech is leaking oil, but again, they got to go to Georgia Tech next week. So there's a lot of scenarios. I'm buying Texas Tech. Their defense is
yeah.
phenomenal. I love what they're doing. But there's so many scenarios to set up. I still think you're in. I know the committee. I know how Notre Dame travels. I know the revenue that Notre Dame brings in. You were in the championship game. I'm still going on record right here, right now, 11:15 on November 21st. You win out, you're in. I'm taking that one down. You win, you're in.
I hope you're right. Trust me, I hope you're right. I also think it needs to be convincing, because playing Syracuse and Stanford isn't great to end your season, considering that's going to be the last 2 data points that the committee is going to look at. They need to be blowouts. Absolutely. You can't play those 2 games close, especially when all these other big games are going to be happening next week. And then you have the conference championship games happening the week afterward. Notre Dame just sitting at home, not playing anybody. So the committee's going to have those recent games where it's like, if somebody looks great and Notre Dame's not playing anybody, that's going to hurt. And I guess to touch on a couple other things, back to the Michigan point just real quick. If they beat Ohio State and they beat Indiana in the Big Ten championship game, they're in. If they have 3 losses though, because if Indiana beats them in the Big Ten championship game, I can't see them getting in.
No, I agree.
Georgia. Also, let me say this: I think there's 5 teams right now, and I hate because we've had so much parity. It feels like so much parity this year, but I only think there's 5 teams that can actually win a national championship. The way the playoffs is set up. I think it's Ohio State. I still can see Indiana winning it. You mentioned Texas Tech. That's probably the most iffy one, because it's like, if BYU is the best team they've played, they're still a little, but they look so good doing it. Like, those offensive and defensive lines are real. That offense is real. Those linebackers are no joke. So they look the part. So I would say Texas Tech for now. I would say Notre Dame, and I would say Georgia. I think are the teams that I actually trust. I think those are the 5 teams that can actually win it all right now. I think Georgia, you mentioned they're not the same Georgia. They're not. But it seems like Kirby Smart's doing it again, where they're just kind of clicking at the right time.
Well, we got this time here. I'm gonna bring up here. Let me go to here. Nick's Nuggets for the week here, and hopefully I didn't get fat fingered here. Miami minus 18. Miami team total over 33 and a
Yep.
half. Rutgers plus 32 and a half. James Madison minus 13 and a half. Arkansas team total over 23 and a half. New Mexico Air Force under the 54 and a half, and LSU minus 21 and a half. Take it away, sir.
Yeah, Miami. I think this is we kind of talked about Notre Dame, and you kind of glanced across it a bit towards the beginning as well. Miami needs style points. Miami needs they see Notre Dame blowing everybody out. I think they need to do the same thing. And I agree. I think they do too. Virginia Tech's not a good scenario. Like, yes, they're going to have James Franklin in for this game. Whoop-de-doo. Like, these players on the team right now, I think they could care less. Either half are going to transfer anyways. He's going to bring in his own guys. It's also a noon game at Lane Stadium. There's no night game against Miami. I think Miami's going to put on a show here. That's why I kind of split the unit on the Miami 18 and also the Miami team total. I could see Virginia Tech scoring here a bit, which does kind of worry me for that 18. That's why I wanted to split it, because I think Miami will get theirs and try to run it up. And so I wanted to have some on that team total. This one's ugly. Don't watch this game, but Rutgers plus 32 and a half against Ohio State. It is painful to bet against this Ohio State team. I haven't done it all season. I actually bet them 34 and a half last week against UCLA. That was UCLA without Nico. And now they're basically getting the same number against Rutgers. That's where I think this is off. They shouldn't be getting the same number as UCLA. Rutgers coming off a bye week, fully healthy. Also, Ohio State. We talk about this in our industry a lot. Look ahead games matter. You got Michigan next week. You have Indiana in the Big Ten, most likely. Indiana in the Big Ten championship game after. It sounds like Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate aren't even going to play. Is kind of where it's leaning. If they do play, it's going to be for like a quarter. There's no reason why Ohio State needs to blow out Rutgers here. And Rutgers can score. So, their defense is brutal. Let's not get this wrong. I could see Ohio State might put up 31 or 35 in the first half when their starters are in, but I think Rutgers can get to 14 against their backups maybe in the second half. Rutgers is still playing for a bowl game as well. So I think Rutgers cares more. This is definitely not a money line sprinkle by any means, but can they stay within 32 and a half? I really do think so. James Madison, minus 13 and a half. My favorite one on the board. I love this against Washington State, coming across the country, playing at 10 o'clock, their local time. James Madison, I think, was disrespected, seeing a 2-loss North Texas team still ranked above them in the college football playoff. So I think JMU is going to just blow the doors off them, and I think they need to. So I love this 13 and a half here. I'd play it up to 16 and a half, because I think this 17 is still too small. I think that one gets ugly. Arkansas over 23 and a half. I have not seen what Matt's played on this game. I am assuming he took the 10 and a half early, would probably be my guess. And I know a lot of people are on Arkansas. This number has kind of dropped down to 8 or 8.5 now from the beginning of the week. I'm going to play this a little bit differently with Arkansas team total over 23 and a half. I don't trust this Arkansas defense whatsoever. I don't trust the Texas offense whatsoever. So I didn't know full game over would make sense as well. I wanted to trust this Arkansas offense. I think Petrino's going to have some things kind of up his sleeve for Sark. I think they'll get their points. And especially I like it with a lot of people taking that plus 10, plus 8.5. If Arkansas is in this game, it means they scored. Arkansas is not going to be in a game that's 17-13. That's just not how they play. So they're going to put up points one way or the other. So I loved this Arkansas over 23 and a half team total, preferably to either side or either total. New Mexico Air Force under 54 and a half. Air Force has been playing a lot slower lately, and they just lost Zarka, their starting quarterback, who was basically their entire offense. They are now starting a fullback at quarterback this week. So expecting a lot of powers up the middle. I think they're going to try to hold on to the ball. New Mexico's been okay lately, but it's been their defense that's been better. They've been playing low scoring games. I think this one is just an ugly time possession game for both sides. I think I was surprised this was over 50 to begin with. So yeah, under 54.5. I think that should be a sleeper. And then LSU minus 21.5. We've talked about on this show already in the first 20 minutes motivation. And it's a big story this week. Like this is the SEC freaking. I hate this week so much because SEC does it every season where it's freaking bye weeks basically, and people get on Notre Dame. People get on Notre Dame for strength of schedule, and Notre Dame doesn't play one of these FCS schools that they're going to beat by 50. But no, the SEC is fine doing it. That's cool. LSU has Western Kentucky, who's not an FCS school, but the motivation here is actually flipped. Like a lot of people would say, like, "Oh, Western Kentucky is going to come in here and try to win it." I disagree. I think LSU. This is a night game in Baton Rouge. This is our last night game of the year. Actually, last home game of the year. Van Buren is starting. That's fine with me. Nussmeier hasn't been great all year, anyways. Western Kentucky is starting their backup quarterback. But more importantly, they have Jacksonville State next week, and they're 1-2 in their league. So they need to win next weekend to get to their conference championship game. That is where health matters. Western Kentucky could care less about this game. They need to win next week. You can't go into LSU where you see some of these teams that take their paycheck and run out there with 8 guys on the injury report the next week because they all got beat up by some SEC guys. So I think LSU kind of runs away with this in here, and I don't think Western Kentucky cares if they do. So yeah, that 21.5 kind of felt like one I needed to grab there.
I have to ask you this. I was looking at their team total. Does quarterback come in here and try to say, I was the guy, it wasn't Nussmeier? Team total 35 and a hook. Does that fly? Do they get to that 37-40 number?
I don't know if I trust the offense enough, but I trust
Okay.
the LSU defense enough. They're good. Whit Weeks is coming back. So his first game back after after being hurt for the last 3 weeks. I don't know if Western Kentucky scores much here. I could see this being something like 31-7. Like it could be ugly 34-10, right around that number. I don't hate where your mind is at, but I also don't know if LSU has a reason to kind of run it up. I just think they win by this number and cover it.
Lane Kiffin, they quote unquote, there was an ultimatum by the Egg Bowl. Lane, we need to know you're going to LSU, going to Florida. Summerall stopped in his tracks heading to Florida. Kind of was like, all right, well, I'm not.
Yeah, that was strange. Yeah,
that was strange to me. Buffalo Bills lose again last night. You know my love affair for Joe Brady. I don't know if that's the big splash that LSU was looking for. I'm going to have you be a booster for LSU. Enough of the drama, Lane. You're sticking to staying. You don't want to come here. There's a line a mile long. Is Joe Brady not big enough? Or who is Nck Hathcoat putting his hat on as the LSU next coach?
I think it's been narrowed down to 2. Well, if we're taking Kiffin out of it, because nobody knows what Kiffin's doing. I don't think Kiffin knows what he's doing either, which I think is part of it. Part of it could be he's playing the game, which is smart for any coach. If 3 schools the size of Florida, LSU, and Ole Miss are fighting over you, you're going to get your money, and you might as well. So I don't blame him for doing what he's doing. Outside of Kiffin, I think LSU's down to 2, is what I've been seeing, and I think Joe Brady's 1, and I think Kenny Dillingham from Arizona State is 2. I think those are kind of the 2 that I think in combination that I think have earned it in terms of being good enough coaches. They've proven themselves, and that I think the boosters and LSU fan base would be happy with. Because I think Joe Brady gets a lot. Especially looking back on how the whole how that whole run at LSU ended. I think more people gave Joe Brady credit for the national championship than anybody, than Coach O. I think Coach O is kind of that holding place, is like, hey, this is our face to the camera guy head coach. I think behind the scenes, everybody thought it was Joe Brady running that offense. Now, yes, looking back at it, it helps to have Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow. Yeah, Joe Burrow. You got 20 NFL guys on that team. But yeah, I think those are the 2 they'd be happiest with.
Well, you just threw a little fly in the ointment. Dillingham, does he bring Levitt with him?
I would say yes, but it's also been weird around Arizona State. So I'm not sure if I don't know if Dillingham is doing this for optics, but the fact that he was going, because Levitt, it sounds like Levitt's going to transfer. It hasn't come out of Levitt's actual mouth, apparently. But these are all the reports, and who knows if they're right or wrong. But the reports are correct in saying that Dillingham has been going around Tempe kind of needing more NIL money, whether it's to keep Levitt to stay or just other, like, to be able to recruit better players, like all the stuff. He needs more NIL money, Now, that's also an easy start to getting yourself out of a place you don't want to be. And not saying he doesn't want to be there. Like, obviously, he's an alumni there, if I'm not mistaken. So I don't think he doesn't want to be at Arizona State, but it's also an easy out to say, okay, I'm going to take this LSU job because, look, I went and asked for all this NIL money, couldn't get it. So now I'm going to get an LSU where I know I can get as much as I want. The weird thing is, like, him kind of doing it to try to keep Levitt, or him and Levitt seem to be like a little bit at odds, because it sounds like he thinks Levitt should be playing, but he's not. So there's kind of some weird stuff going on there. So I don't know if it's between the two of them. This could all just be fake news. But I think they'd be smart to bring Levitt, because I think he's better than anybody. Like, he's better than Van Buren, who they'll have on the roster next year. So yeah, yes, if I'm them, I would bring Levitt. If it is Dillingham, yeah.
Well, next week, holiday weekend, we'll figure out if we're going to do. I think you're traveling on Wednesday, correct?
Yeah, Wednesday. I should be traveling either Tuesday night or Wednesday morning. But I should be good to do the show at some point on Friday. Yeah. Well, I don't know. We could see, because we need to see what games are Thursday, Friday. If we do something maybe early Friday, that'll still give us time to get all the Friday games and Saturday games in there. But yeah, we'll get it figured out. We'll do something.
As I always wrap up this spot, they know where to follow you, of course, at Nck Hathcoat 413 Insiders Football, NCAA Insiders, of course. But I always wrap it up. Tell them where they can find all your work, Nick.
Yeah, basically, yeah, Nck Hathcoat 413, as you just said, and then Insiders FB is where we post all of my plays. Grissom's plays, who you had on yesterday, Smitty's plays, Q, and he plays them. I know he's busy right now. So all of our plays on there. Obviously, our main account, NCAA Insiders, is for college baseball. Like I said before I got on here, I've been working on college baseball this morning, kind of going through all the transfer portal stuff, and just the SEC transfer portal stuff. It gets even tougher when I start doing the other conferences. So it's just, yeah, it ends up being a lot. But yeah, going through that now. But yeah, those are the main three accounts, obviously, that we use. I know I'm doing college basketball right now as well, along with Smitty. We're kind of combining on some stuff, doing free college basketball plays pretty much every day, which has been pretty good so far. I know I'm 8-3 over the last 3 days, so I've been pretty successful there. So yeah, you can find all my plays there. Obviously, Action Network to track it all. You can find all my plays there right when I post them, which is probably the best way. And that's linked in on my profile.
Go follow him, of course, Nck Hathcoat 413 on X at excuse me, I had a little tongue twist there. NCAA Insiders for baseball, which will be starting up before you know it, and of course, Insiders FB on X. Another week wrapped up here on the ECSI studio. I want to thank everyone watching and listening. If you haven't already, head on over to YouTube. Subscribe. It's free. We're getting closer to 12,000 subscribers. Come on back to X at EC Sports Invest, and of course, go follow Nick at Nck Hathcoat 413 Insiders FB, and of course, NCAA Insiders. Guys, the weekend's here. We got college hoops around the all across the day and night. Got the big card next tomorrow in college football, almost like the appetizer before next weekend's games. Stay in your lanes, behave, don't get too fat this weekend, and we'll see you soon.